Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and in this video, I'm going to be going over a very important Bitcoin chart. So definitely stick around for that. But first, let's take a quick look at the 12-hour Bitcoin chart. And right now, technically speaking, we have not broken this short-term downtrend, which means we're still obviously in this short-term downtrend at the time of recording this video. And this is simply based on the parabolic stop and reverse indicator sitting in the red, also the RSI, and the MACD still in their short-term bearish trends. But as I've been mentioning over the past couple of days, we are potentially getting close to a short-term bottom here, because it was only a few days ago that the 12-hour Bitcoin RSI entered into oversold territories. And historically speaking, that means the Bitcoin price is getting pretty close to some sort of short-term bottom. And on top of that, if you're looking at the 12-hour Bitcoin MACD, we are getting much closer to a possible bullish cross. But I want to make it clear that we have not confirmed this bullish cross, at least just yet, because first we need to actually see the bullish cross take place, and then we need to see at least a 12-hour candle close to cement this bullish cross in place. And once we start seeing signals like that, and also a further reversal in the RSI, that is how you know that the probability of a short-term bullish reversal is increasing again, which right now we have not confirmed. But like I said, we're potentially getting closer to that. And over here on the daily Bitcoin chart, nothing much has happened over the past few days, so I'm going to keep this very quick. Basically, the Bitcoin price is still holding above this ascending line of support, which is coming into play at around 39,000, and anything below that level of support, we've got this range of support coming into play at around 37 to 38,000, which we have previously seen Bitcoin get supported in that same price range. And back on this 12-hour time frame, that is of course this golden pocket, which is the most important Fibonacci level. And in case you are new to this channel, even though this shorter term trend is still technically in a bearish trend, we have not confirmed another bullish reversal just yet. But with that being said, when you're talking about the larger multi-month trend Bitcoin has been in over the past few months, technically speaking, Bitcoin has been in an uptrend on the daily time frame since that January low, and this larger multi-month trend will only begin to change if we break below those important levels of support that I just mentioned. And now taking a look at this very interesting Bitcoin chart, this is actually important to pay attention to because it potentially opens up a massive opportunity for Bitcoin holders, which I will be explaining in just a moment. But first, what is this chart and what does it mean? And this chart right here is the Sharpe ratio over a 1-year time horizon, and it's looking at Bitcoin, the S&P 500 index, which is in the blue, gold, which is in the yellow, and long US bonds, which are basically bonds that don't mature until over 20 years from now, and they are in the green. And by the way, Bitcoin is in this brown line right here. And a Sharpe ratio basically tells us the risk-adjusted returns of a certain asset. And so basically a Sharpe ratio has 3 different factors. The first factor is of course returns of a certain asset. The second factor is the volatility of that asset, which is basically the risk of that asset moving to the upside and to the downside. And the third component of a Sharpe ratio is a time period, a certain time horizon that the Sharpe ratio factors in. And the time horizon of an investment is very important for investors. For example, this chart right here is using a 1-year time horizon. And obviously, if you're only looking at investing into Bitcoin for just 1 year and then getting out, there are going to be some time periods in the market where you will be getting out at a loss if you're only investing in for 1 year. But when you zoom out to a 5-year investment time horizon, so basically if you're planning to invest into Bitcoin and hold for at least 5 years, then that significantly changes the Sharpe ratio for Bitcoin and all of these other assets as well. And you can simply see for yourself right here in the data that historically speaking, if an investor is using a 5-year time horizon, Bitcoin has actually been one of the best performing investments, but not only that, one of the safest investments when you're looking at a larger time period historically speaking. Now, obviously, this can change in the future, but going off multiple years worth of history and a lot of data right in front of us, you can see that Bitcoin has been the best risk-adjusted return investment when you're talking about a larger time horizon, such as a 5-year investment. But like I said earlier, when you reduce your time horizon, you are at risk of being exposed to more volatile time periods in the market, which is why if you're looking at a 1-year time horizon, there are going to be some periods in the market here and there where Bitcoin is actually not doing as good as some of these other investments if you're using a somewhat shorter time horizon. But here's where things get really interesting. If you're taking a look at the Sharpe ratios for all of these investments using the 1-year time horizon, and if you're specifically looking at the time periods where Bitcoin's Sharpe ratio drops below these other investments, historically speaking, those have been some of the best opportunities throughout Bitcoin's entire price history. We briefly saw this happen during the middle of 2012. We also saw this again during the first half of 2013. 2015, and then we saw it again at the end of 2018, leading into the beginning of 2019, and then we briefly saw this again during the middle of 2020, and we are seeing it again right now. So apart from this one right now, we have seen Bitcoin's Sharpe ratio drop below the Sharpe ratios of these other investment classes only 4 other times throughout Bitcoin's entire price history when you're using a 1-year investment. And over here on the weekly Bitcoin chart, I've zoomed out to take a look at Bitcoin's entire price history, and I've circled those other 4 times throughout Bitcoin's entire price history where we have seen Bitcoin's 1-year Sharpe ratio invert against those other Sharpe ratios I just spoke about. And you can notice on the charts right here that all 4 of those previous examples have been amazing buying opportunities, historically speaking. And once again, we are seeing the 5th inversion happening right now on the 1-year Sharpe ratio chart. And when you're actually looking at each of these time periods, it becomes very clear why the 1-year Bitcoin Sharpe ratio is lower than a lot of those other Sharpe ratios. And that is because the prior year leading up to each of these opportunities were usually very bearish, or we saw a lot of sideways price action over the past 1 year before we see these opportunities occur. And historically speaking, after we see about a year's worth of bearish price action or a year's worth of sideways price action, that is usually just before we see a lot more bullish price action in the price of Bitcoin. Now, I want to make it clear that this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell Bitcoin. Obviously, you can use this information however you want, but personally, due to the fact that this is only the 5th ever time we have seen this happen over the past decade, and also due to the fact that historically speaking, this signal has been 100% accurate, personally, I am still buying a lot of Bitcoin and holding that Bitcoin for the longer term, as in at least a year. And this is simply going off all of the data that we have in front of us throughout Bitcoin's entire price history. But once again, that is not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I am doing with my own money and telling you what has happened in the past, which might not happen in the future. So just keep that in mind. When it comes to investing, there's still nothing that is guaranteed. And if you're looking at the total amount of Bitcoin sitting on exchanges, over the past couple of days, we've seen another massive Bitcoin withdrawal from exchanges. And technically, when you reduce Bitcoin's available supply, so basically when you take Bitcoin off exchanges, that is technically making Bitcoin's available supply more scarce, which is actually a bullish signal. And in fact, if you're looking at the last drop-off we saw in the Bitcoin supply on exchanges, that was during the middle of March, just before the Bitcoin price had a $10,000 pump from 38,000 to 48,000. And while all of that is happening, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index has dropped further into extreme fear. So this is also another metric to consider moving forward. So basically, the shorter term bearish trend hasn't actually confirmed a bullish reversal just yet, but looking at some of these other metrics, we're actually looking pretty good, especially when you're talking about the longer term, as in at least a year from now. And if you want to get extra Bitcoin content throughout the day, make sure you follow me over on my Twitter, and the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. But anyway, if you got anything of value out of this video, please make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. And before we click off, if you want to make more money in crypto, whether or not prices are going up or down, then these 2 videos popping up right here on your screen are definitely made for you. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.